In the last video, I showed you how to make a flat sketch from a garment. In this video, I'll show you how to make a pattern from a flat sketch. Stay tuned. You'll need a ruler, a tape measure, a piece of paper, and a pen. First, you'll take the length measurement from the high point of shoulder to the hem. You write that down. Here is 24 inches. Next, you measure 1 inch down, then you take across the chest. And you do the same for the bottom measurement. Here it happens to be the same, and you mark that on your flat sketch. Here is 31 inches. Next, you're going to take the armhole measurement. Here I'm going to do it straight because it's such a boxy shirt, so you really don't have to have a curve on it. And now I'll take the hem measurement of the sleeve. Then you put both those measurements on your flat sketch. Now you take the length of the sleeve. Now we move to the neck width, which is measured from neck point to neck point. Here is 8 inches, and you mark that on the flat sketch. Next, we have to do the front and back neck drop. Use a ruler from point to point and measure down to the edge of the back neck. This is the back neck drop. Here is 1 inch. Actually, 1/8 of an inch. Next, you'll do the same to the front neck. This is called the front neck drop. And you mark that on your flat sketch. Here is 5 3/8. Next, we need the shoulder slope. Using your ruler, hopefully you have a ruler longer than mine. Here I use 2. To get it straight, you have it parallel from point to point and you measure it down to the top of the armhole. And then you get the shoulder slope, which here is 3.5 inches, and you mark that on your flat sketch. Next, you need across the shoulder. So you mark from the center front to the top of the shoulder at the armhole. And you mark that on your flat sketch, which is 16 here. The buttons here are 3/8 of an inch, and you'll need that to put your front placket on. So just mark that down. Next, I'm just measuring the vent. Here I think it was about 5 inches, 5.5 inches. Yes, 5.5 inches it is. So next, if you see, there's a fold over from the back to the front, and that's about 1 inch, and we'll transfer that to the pattern. So just mark that, and we'll transfer that to the pattern later on in the video. So now you're ready to make your pattern. I'm using Adobe Illustrator here because it's very quick and very accurate. If you want to do it on pattern paper, you can do it that way. Just follow along with the same type of shapes. First, I'm doing the back neck. You take half the neck width measurement and the back neck drop, and you make the back neck shape. Next, I'm measuring down for the shoulder slope, and across the shoulder is wider than across the chest, so I'm putting that difference in now, and the length of the armhole. So now I'll just move the top shoulder slope over to get the armhole and the correct shoulder slope. So now I'm just going to duplicate the back to make the front piece, and do the front neck drop. So you just measure down to your front neck drop measurement, and then shape the front neck. Just make sure you're accurate. Now you shape the front neck. Now you want to mark your pattern so that you know what to cut and how to cut it. The back is on the center fold, so you mark that. And because the front is open, you cut 2 pieces. So you mark that as well. And you mark the center front. Next, if you remember on the garment, the back folded over to the front. So here we're taking that inch measurement, cutting it off the front, and added it to the back pattern piece. Now we have to just make sure it lays correctly and you smooth everything out. I'm leaving the notches so you know exactly where the shoulder should lie. And you have to smooth out the armhole as well. You smooth out the neck and then you smooth out the armhole. So now I'm going to add seam allowance. On commercial home sewing patterns, 5/8 is usually added to everything. On industry production patterns, they want to use as little fabric as possible. So there's a 1/4 inch on the neck and front and 1/2 inch around everywhere else. So that's what I'm doing here. On the hem, I'm adding 2 inches because it's an inch hem, so I'm going to fold it twice. On the front, because the button is 3/8 wide, I'm adding 3/8 to the center front and then adding the seam allowance to the front piece. A 1/4 inch around the front and the neck and a 1/2 inch everywhere else except for the hem where I'm adding 2 inches. Now I'm going to add the notch to show where to stop sewing, and that's 5 inches up from the hemmed edge. I'm sorry, 5.5 inches up from the hemmed edge. Now I'm going to do the facing. It's usually 2 inches wide, so it's just following the same shape as the front, and you just put it inside because this is where you're going to fuse it and sew it. So you do that to both the front and the back. You just follow the shape and you make sure they match. That's why I'm copying it over. Next, I'm going to do the sleeve pattern piece. You're going to need your armhole measurement, your hem measurement, and the length of the sleeve, and make a box. Now I'm going to add an inch hem, and you have to mirror the bottom edge of the sleeve so when it folds it matches up and it doesn't bunch up. Now I'm going to add a 1/2 inch seam allowance to the sleeve. When you're making patterns, you want to make sure that you mark all your pattern pieces to say the same thing, because you don't want to get confused because you're going to have a lot of pattern pieces after a while. So you just mark and say how many you need cut, and then you're going to put the grain lines on everything and how it should be cut. Here I'm putting it should be cut on the fold just like the back, and then for the front I have to put the grain line. Well, right now I'm adding the notch, so you transferring the notch to the seam allowance because you don't want to cut past the seam allowance. And then I'm going to add the grain lines to the pattern so you know which way to cut. And this is on a straight grain for everything. For more detailed written instruction, please click on the link right below this video. And if you like this video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Until next time, thank you for watching. Peace.